Hey, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most comforting and powerful promises in the entire Bible. Romans 8, verse 28. It says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." Now, that sounds amazing, right? But let's be real. When we're in the middle of a storm, when we've lost a job, ended a relationship, or are facing a scary diagnosis, this verse can feel a little distant. We might ask, how can this asterisk possibly be for my good? It's a fair question. And to explore it, I want to share a story with you. It's not from the Bible, but it's a story about a man named Elias, a master craftsman whose life illustrates this very promise in a way I think we can all understand. Imagine a small, sun-drenched village nestled in a valley, a place where everyone knows each other. In this village lived Elias, a potter renowned for his skill. His hands, calloused and stained with clay, could shape the most exquisite vases and bowls from a simple lump of earth. People would travel from neighboring towns just to watch him at his wheel. His movements, a graceful dance of creation. Elias loved his work, but more than that, he loved his family. He had a wonderful wife, Sarah, and a bright, energetic son named Leo. For Elias, life was perfect. He had his faith, his family, and his craft. One afternoon, as the sun began to set, casting long shadows across his workshop, Elias was working on a special project. It was a large, ornate vase he planned to give to Sarah for their anniversary. He had spent weeks designing it, sketching intricate patterns of vines and flowers that represented their life together. As he worked, humming a familiar tune, he envisioned Sarah's smile when she would see it. This wasn't just clay and glaze. It was a vessel of his love, a testament to their shared years. This piece was meant to be his masterpiece, the pinnacle of his skill and his heart. Suddenly, a tremor shook the workshop. It was slight at first, just a rattle of the tools on his shelf. Elias paused, placing a steadying hand on the spinning wheel. Then, a more violent jolt struck. Jars of glaze crashed to the floor, shattering into 1,000 colorful pieces. The ground beneath him groaned and swayed. In a heart-stopping moment, the nearly finished vase, his masterpiece, wobbled, tipped, and fell from the wheel, smashing into countless fragments on the stone floor. Elias stared in disbelief. The earthquake passed as quickly as it had come, leaving behind a deafening silence, broken only by the sound of his own heavy breathing. He fell to his knees, his hands trembling as he looked at the ruins of his beautiful creation. It was all gone. Weeks of work, of love, of anticipation shattered. In that moment, despair washed over him. How could this have happened? He had worked so hard, poured his soul into it. Why would this be allowed? The question echoed in the quiet, dusty air of his broken workshop. The next few days were a blur of gloom for Elias. He swept up the broken pieces of the vase, his heart as heavy as the clay dust that filled the air. He couldn't bring himself to touch his potter's wheel. The joy was gone, replaced by a dull ache of disappointment and confusion. Sarah tried to comfort him, reminding him that it was just a vase, that he could make another. But to Elias, it was more than that. It was a symbol of his effort, his love, and now his failure. He felt like his own spirit had been shattered along with the pottery. He'd always believed that his work glorified God, that his hands were guided by a divine purpose. But now he felt abandoned. What good could possibly come from this destruction? He mumbled to himself, sitting on his stool and staring at the empty wheel. The village, too, was cleaning up, repairing minor damages. But for Elias, the damage felt internal, a crack in his faith that he didn't know how to mend. His purpose felt lost among the shards of his broken masterpiece. One evening, as Elias was listlessly sorting through the broken pieces, his son, Leo, came into the workshop. Leo was always fascinated by his father's work, especially the colorful glazes. He picked up a small, jagged piece of the shattered vase. "It's still beautiful, Papa," he said, his small voice cutting through the gloom. He held it up to the lantern light, and the fragment shimmered, its intricate pattern still visible. It was a tiny piece of the original design, but the beauty was still there. Something shifted in Elise's heart. He looked at the pile of shards, not as a symbol of failure, but as individual pieces, each one holding a remnant of the original beauty. An idea, faint at first, then growing stronger, began to form in his mind. What if the story wasn't over? What if this wasn't an end, but a different kind of beginning? He remembered an ancient art form he had once read about, the art of mending broken pottery with gold, making it even more beautiful and valuable than before. With a renewed sense of purpose, Elias got to work. He didn't try to recreate the vase. Instead, he gathered all the broken pieces, every last one. He carefully cleaned them and began to arrange them on a large wooden board. It was painstaking work. He used a strong adhesive mixed with gold dust to join the fragments together. He wasn't trying to hide the cracks. He was highlighting them, filling them with shimmering gold. The lines of fracture, once symbols of disaster, were becoming part of a new, intricate design. Days turned into a week. Sarah and Leo would watch, amazed as a new creation emerged from the ruins. It wasn't a vase anymore. It was a mosaic, a stunning tapestry of color and gold. The original patterns of vines and flowers were still there, but now they were intersected by brilliant golden rivers. The mosaic told a story of brokenness and restoration, of beauty, not in spite of the cracks, but because of them. When he was finished, Elias hung the mosaic on the wall of their home. It caught the light in a way the vase never could have, shimmering and changing throughout the day. It was more beautiful, more profound than his original creation. It became the centerpiece of their home, a constant reminder of what had happened. They saw not just a piece of art, but a story of hope. Elias's work took on a new meaning. He began creating these mosaics for others, taking their broken heirlooms and sentimental pieces and transforming them into new works of art. His workshop, once a place of silent despair, was now filled with purpose and light. He understood now. The earthquake, the shattering of his masterpiece, wasn't a punishment or a meaningless accident. It was an interruption that led to a new, more beautiful purpose. God hadn't just allowed the brokenness. He had used it to create something better, something that could minister to others in a way a simple vase never could. Elise's story, though fictional, is a beautiful picture of Romans 8:28. We all have our shattered vase moments. We all face disappointments, losses, and events that leave us feeling broken and asking why. We look at the pieces of our lives: a broken relationship, a failed business, a health crisis, and all we can see is the ruin. We see the pain of the cracks. But our God is a master artist, a divine craftsman. He doesn't just sweep away the broken pieces, He gathers them, every single one. He doesn't just patch us up to hide the damage. He takes the very things that broke us, the lines of fracture and pain, and He redeems them. He fills them with His grace, His purpose, His gold. He works all things, not just the good things, but the painful, confusing, and heartbreaking things together for our ultimate good. It may not be the perfect, unblemished vase we envisioned, but it will be more beautiful, more resilient, and will tell a more profound story of His redemptive love. The cracks become part of our testimony. So, what are the broken pieces in your life right now? What feels shattered beyond repair? I want to encourage you today to hold on to the promise of Romans 8:28. It is not a cliché or a simple platitude to make you feel better. It is a foundational truth of our faith. It doesn't mean we won't experience pain or grief. It means that in the midst of it, God is at work. He is the master potter, the divine mosaic artist, who is lovingly, painstakingly fitting the pieces of your life together into a masterpiece that will glorify Him. Trust His process. Trust His hands. The final picture will be more beautiful than you can ever imagine. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this story brought you some encouragement. If it did, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more content like this. And I'd love to hear from you. In the comments, share a time when you saw God work something broken into something beautiful in your life. Your story might be the hope someone else needs to see today. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next video.